Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to Nutmeg Sports on the HAN Network. We are live from Dunning Field on the campus of New Canaan High School. I'm Rob Adams. Happy you decided to join us for a Tuesday edition. Getting ready for field hockey, the semifinals in the FCAC coming up later today, right here on the HAN Network. We will have both broadcasts for you now. A programming note for you, of course. The playoffs and championship games are available on a pay-per-view basis at championships.han.network, so you want to make sure you go and check all of that out, pick your appropriate option, and join us for the broadcast later on. We will have those for you, as I mentioned, here today on the HAN Network. First broadcast coming up, in fact, at 5 o'clock today as the New Canaan Rams, just coincidentally, the hometown team, take on the top seed, the Darien Blue Wave. And for the Blue Wave, it'll be a unique situation for both teams, in fact. The Blue Wave will be the home team for that game, so that's coming up at 5. And then the number 3 Norwalk Bears take on the number 2 Wilton Warriors. So you've got the top 4 straight chalk. That's 7 o'clock tonight, again here at New Canaan's Dunning Field. The Blue Wave have just been outstanding, 15-0 on the year, not a blemish on their record. New Canaan's been very good, 11-3-1, but one of their losses coming to Darien. So we'll get into that a little bit later as the show goes along, and very happy to have you along on just a beautiful day here in New Canaan. Temperatures actually sitting in the 70s. It would not have been inappropriate to come out in a pair of shorts today. It's that kind of day. They'll drop a little lower, obviously, later on tonight, but still. Quick programming note, it is Election Day. Hopefully you got out and voted today. Exercise your right. I did. I hope you did as well. And believe me, my voting process, as a quick side note, took all of about 45 seconds without getting into the details. One party was, let's just say, not represented. So it was pretty easy to grab the ballot and go check, hand it off, scan it, and walk out with my little sticker on. So get out and go vote today. Election night results coming along at 8 o'clock tonight on the HAN Network. That will be, obviously, a clean broadcast later on. So that's later on. Clean meaning it's free. So you can see that later on tonight with Kate and Josh, as well as AJ Simonowski, rocking the controls. So they are all set to go later on here on the HAN Network. Now let's get into some things from last night, including boys soccer. Very successful night in boys soccer at Taft Field at Fairfield Ludlow. 2 good games, but is there ever a point that a game can be a blowout without it being a blowout? In a matter of speaking, it can happen. That was game number 1. With no disrespect to the Greenwich Cardinals, they were missing, obviously, a very big piece in their offense, in their attack, and they had pieces to make some things work, but the downside was that there was just enough there from the Darien Blue Wave to get past the Cardinals 1-0. We've got a highlight for you. Why don't we take a look at it? Eric Gendre will tee it up right now. Okay, we've got, and it's soundless, so excuse me, but in any event, as you can see here, you're heading down toward the net, and for Greenwich, they committed the penalty, and it turned into a penalty shot, and for the Blue Wave, it was just too good of an opportunity to pass up. You can see the Cardinal right there on the turf, frustrated for sure. And that leads to the penalty shot here. Pablo Martinez makes the approach and drills it in. Great camera work by everyone, by the way, and that was the difference right there. And that was it. That was your ball game right there at 1-0. The Cardinals never really threatened beyond that. They had little opportunities here and there, but there was never anything firm for the Cardinals to get back into this game. So 1-0 the final score, and the Blue Wave move on. The Wave got that goal in the 27th minute. Cardinals played well defensively. They just could not find any offense. Alejandro McLean at one point went down and went off the pitch for a while, and that was a big loss for Greenwich. He was the big piece of the remaining offense, but he did come back, just couldn't get anything going, and of course they were keying on him as well with Bartles out of that game. Now to the 4-1 matchup, Fairfield Ludlow and Danbury. And this one a much more entertaining game in that you had more offense. 4-2 was the final score. We have highlights of this one as well, and really just a fine performance by both teams off the bat. Early on, Nick Stolley came out in the 13th minute and made it 1-0, so a good start for the Fairfield Ludlow Falcons. But Danbury able to answer just about 4 minutes later. In the 17th minute, you're going to get a look at Felipe Alves as he's able to drill it in past Frederick Marr, and that tied things up at 1. So the Hatters celebrate and were knotted at a goal apiece. Moving on now into the second half, we were in the 45th minute, and watch the work by Kevin Spinato. He is going to get this ball, and it becomes a breakaway down the right wing. Look at him drive down there and hammer it past, and there you go as he goes over to the left side of the net. Nicely done by that young man, the junior. And in the 45th minute, we had ourselves a 2-1 game with Danbury now holding serve. And it seemed like we were in good shape for the Hatters to stay that way, but not so fast. Right here in the 56th minute, heading over into that left corner. A little bit of fun then out in front of the net, and the obvious penalty. Now the PK, Pat Hogan with the approach and the kick and the goal, and right there we have a 2-2 game in the 56th minute. So Fairfield Ludlow able to knot it up. Now we move along into the 64th minute, and Nick Damaso, one of the captains. And that was a huge turn right there. First of all, the penalty kick absolutely with turning point to tie it at 2. But here, this goal by Damaso making it 3-2. And then a little extra on the Sunday. Stolly coming back for his second. He almost had a hat trick as he rolls it past. And there it is. With just under 9 minutes to go, it was now a 4-2 match. And the Fairfield Ludlow Falcons, the defending champions, move on to the FCAC championship game where they will play the number 2 seeded Darien Blue Wave. So it's a 4-2 matchup. It is tomorrow. It is 7 o'clock here on the HAN network, and we will have it for you. Tim Murphy will be back alongside of me for the call. Looking at the way the rest of that has broken down, Darien needed that 2-0 win over Staples. A strange game, but a good job because they were able to get the job done, did the Blue Wave over the Wreckers in that one. Danbury all over Ridgefield 3-0. Ludlow gets the 1-0 win on top of Ward, and Greenwich squeaked by Wilton with 2 late goals to make it 2-1. That was the final score in that one. Now you see the finals here. Darien 1-0 and Ludlow a 4-2 win on Danbury. Championship tomorrow at 7 o'clock. Now around to the girls' soccer side. And, we'll start in the quarterfinals, with St. Joe's knocking off Staples 1-0. Then it was Ridgefield over Wilton 2-1. It took overtime for Greenwich to beat Ludlow 1-0, and Darien and Ward played to a scoreless tie, but Darien won 9-8 on penalty kicks. Moving on to the semifinals, that's where we'll pick things up now, as Ridgefield beat Darien 3-1, and St. Joe's over Greenwich 4-1. I know we've got some footage as well. We take a look at that now, and look, St. Joseph has been the dominant team all year. They have done just a great job, but Ridgefield with a good job against Darien last night, and there you go. A little look at some of the action from there in that 3-0 Ridgefield victory. So the FCAC championship now will be number 3 Ridgefield taking on the top seed St. Joseph. St. Joe's is 18-0 on the year. It is still scheduled for 4:30. There has been some confusion about that, but I was told by Dave Stewart by the end of our broadcast last night to stick with 4:30 for now unless we hear something different. So that's where we line that up tomorrow. We will be at Norwalk High School for both of those games. Going to be an interesting afternoon and evening. Will St. Joe's just go on and run away with the championship, or does Ridgefield have something up their sleeve? And on the boys' side, what about Ludlow and Darien? Hard to say. I think that one's going to be an excellent game. We will find out about all of that tomorrow. And just wanted to give a shout-out, by the way, to Katie Jasminski. She was the goal scorer in that girls' clip that you just saw in that Ridgefield Darien game. So big loss for the Blue Wave, big win, of course, for the Tigers. They move on to the championship game, and that's where we sit with that. Why don't we pause for a minute? We'll come back. We'll get into talking about the field hockey games that are coming up in just a little while, a doubleheader, semifinals, and we'll set you up for the field hockey championship. That will be on Thursday. We've got Joe, we got Eric. They're hanging out. They're keeping me company. One's running cameras and acting as security, in a matter of speaking. The other one, he's on the controls. I'm just sitting here talking. We'll take a break. We'll come back to Dunning Field. We're watching Nutmeg Sports on the HAN Network.
Find over 1,000 special stories at Hospital for Special Surgery. Go to hss.edu/backinthe-game.
I was jogging 5 months after my cartilage tear.
Skiing a year after hip surgery.
and playing grandma 4 weeks after hip replacement.
One special hospital, 1,000 special stories. See Connecticut patients at hss.edu/CT.
Here at the Darien Sports Shop, we are very excited about our newly redesigned men's department. Gentlemen, if you're shopping for work, weekend, or wedding, we've got the latest styles and trends inside our spacious new department just for you. We have vast selections from Peter Millar, Vineyard Vines, Johnny O, Duckhead, Barber, and so much more. And you can even walk out of the store in the new Wolverine 1,000-mile men's boot. Conveniently located with free and easy parking at 1127 Post Road, Darien, Connecticut. Or shop us online at dariensport.com.
It's time to come back to hometown banking, where people are taken into account, not just balances. Where community comes first. A place where there's more than one kind of interest. Where automation will never replace consideration. Where they not only know your name, they know your dog's name too. It's time to expect more. It's time to bank well. Bank smart. Bank local. Bank well.
In Pound Ridge since 1993, the Wine Connection is one of America's best wine shops. Visit our beautiful store for the greatest in wine and knowledgeable service. With wonderful values from around the world to collectibles for your cellar, we are your one-stop source. Visit our online shop at wineconn.com and make sure to sign up for email updates. With great offers, new arrivals, and special events, don't miss all the action at The Wine Connection, including tastings every weekend. The Wine Connection, located at 32 Westchester Avenue, Pound Ridge, New York.
You are watching the HAN Network, and you're not alone. 102,000 viewers have enjoyed the HAN Network in just the last 6 weeks. Advertise on the network that reaches Fairfield County, Connecticut's most engaged audience. Contact Jessica Murrin, Advertising Director, at 203-273-7312 or email jessica@han.network.
Welcome back to Nutmeg Sports on the HAN Network. We should mention, by the way, we're here at Dunning Field. I did mention that earlier in the broadcast. However, the New Canaan football team is practicing just off to our left, so they're running what they need to do outside. We won't give anything away, especially for you folks in Darien. But nonetheless, good to be here. Our thanks to everybody here at New Canaan High School for making us feel welcome as always, and for allowing us to kind of, jump in on their practice in a matter of speaking. I saw their outstanding two-way player, Cass Knox, a little earlier. Still in street clothes, still injured, but he did say a quick hello, and certainly nice to see him. Hopefully he gets healthy again very soon. But the Rams obviously playing very well, leading their division, looking like they could have a date in the FCAC Championship. However, they need to get through the Trumbull Eagles this Friday to see if they're really going to go play for the conference championship once again. They last won it in 2013 when they beat St. Joseph in the very first game, broadcast right here on HAN Network, which back then was really only called Hersom Acorn Radio. That's how long ago it was. But that is that game, Trumbull New Canaan, will be Friday night here, 7 o'clock, and we'll have it for you. Chris Irway with me on the call Friday night at 7 right here on the HAN Network. Let us turn our attention over to field hockey now, because we do have a doubleheader here later on, and let's go through the breakdown and then set it up for tonight's games. The quarterfinals took place back on the 30th and 2 games on the 31st, with Darien beating Trumbull 5-1 and Wilton squeaking by Ridgefield 2-1. Then New Canaan got past Greenwich 1-0, and Norwalk outlasted Staples 1-0 as well. That set up for Tuesday, where we are today. We've got the number 4 seeded New Canaan Rams and the number 1 Darien Blue Wave. That's 5 o'clock. And number 3 Norwalk and number 2 Wilton as well at 7 o'clock. Now, the thing about New Canaan Darien, you would think, hey, that should be the nightcap, right? I mean, you want New Canaan Darien under the lights. That's why you want it. Would be great. It'll be under the lights anyway because it's getting darker earlier now. Here's the thing, though. Because of past events, unfortunately, between Darien and New Canaan, really dating back to some hockey nonsense, the two schools now cannot play that late in the evening. And there's more to it than that, obviously. It's unfortunate because you don't want to see it like that. It's the reason that you will not see a nighttime FCAC championship game in hockey anymore, for instance. So all one can do is shake their heads and say, boy, really? But that's the way it goes. So, but it will be, look, I think Norwalk Wilton has a little bit of something to it. I think you've got a chance to have a good game there between two teams that know how to play this game. Now, New Canaan, if they can stay with Darien, then they've got a realistic chance. But we've seen Darien, and Darien's defense is so crushing that you have to somehow get through that defense. And that's the thing. Can New Canaan get through the Darien defense? If they can, we've got a game. Then we've definitely got a game. But if they can't find a way to get around the defense of the Darien Blue Wave, it's going to be a long evening once again. But hey, that's why we play it. So they'll line it up at 5 o'clock, and I suspect we will see some good field hockey action later on here. Now I want to turn my attention to something we haven't talked a whole lot about, and that indeed would be volleyball. In volleyball, we have the championships coming up for you on Saturday. That's 4 o'clock here at Fairfield Ludlow. Semifinals are Thursday, 5 and 7 o'clock. Those at Fairfield Ludlow as well, and they treat us pretty well there. Quarterfinal action all today. First one getting underway at 4 o'clock, 2 of them to be exact. Number 8 Staples will go and play top-seeded Darien at 16-0. That's 4 o'clock. Also at 4 o'clock, number 3 Ridgefield, 13-3, will host number 6, the Trumbull Eagles, who are 11-5. That's a 4 o'clock start as well. The next two are at 5 o'clock. Number 2 Fairfield Ludlow hosting number 7 Fairfield Ward. So the all-Fairfield showdown, 13-3 are the Falcons on the year. That's a 5 o'clock start. And finally, McMahon hosting Greenwich, the 4-5 matchup. McMahon is 12-4, Greenwich as well, 12-4 on the year. So hopefully some good volleyball. The problem is, again, and I hate to sound like I'm repeating myself, Darien has once again been dominant, not only in field hockey, but in volleyball as well. I remember that from the entire FCAC tour. The same thing was said to me over and over again. The goal, beat Darien sometime during the year. So that's the way that volleyball lines up, and that will be certainly rather exciting there as well. We'll have the championship for you on the HAN network. Swimming and diving. Today are the swim trials at Greenwich High School, 4 o'clock in the Greenwich High School pool. 4 o'clock as well. This is tomorrow. The diving finals get underway at West Hill High School in Stamford at 4:30. And then the championships in swimming are Thursday at 4 back at Greenwich High School. Greenwich has just dominated in terms of swimming championships for so many years. So we'll see what this week brings in terms of those championships, but FCAC championships rolling throughout the balance of the week, and we've got so much coverage between now and Saturday before we all curl up and take a nap on Sunday. By the way, you can't hear it, fortunately. It was much louder when they started, but for practice here at New Canaan High School, they have a running collection of music that's been playing. And we have heard just a little bit of everything from the theme to Happy Days. And I don't just mean the theme itself that used to run on the opening credits. I mean the full song that was actually, I believe, a top 10 hit. I'm thinking 1976, I'm going to say. You can go look up for yourself. But that played. We've heard Ring of Fire from Johnny Cash. We just heard Dust in the Wind. It's been a whole collection of music. And by the way, the HAN radio the HAN network mascot is now climbing the ladder and heading up the stairs. Just a really cute young lady climbing the ladder. So she's going to go up and watch practice continue on here at Dunning Field. And we still have field hockey that we're going to have later today, 5 o'clock, and it's coming up right here on the HAN network. We'll take another timeout. We'll come back with more of the program as we get ready to wrap up a Tuesday edition. Don't forget it's Election Day. We'll have more on that as well. We'll take a break. We'll come back right after this on the HAN network.
Do you do a lot of running around but get nowhere when you're buying a car? Visit Pamby Chrysler Jeep Dodge and Ram for the one-stop buying experience and stop spinning your wheels.
Back to school means back to busy, and Stewart's Market can save you precious time by stocking all of your favorite essentials under one roof. For a healthy start to school, we have all the ingredients. Walter Stewart's, your family-owned fresh local market, 229 Elm Street and at stewartsmarket.com.
While the temperatures are cooling down, the fall bite is heating up. Albies, bonita, blackfish, alligator blues, and stripers are following the large schools of bait that are abundant in the Long Island Sound. If you love the New England coast during autumn, this is the time to be on the water. The latest from Shimano, Quantum, Avet, Hoagie, Phase 2 and more are in stock and ready to go at the dock shop. And don't mind those fall breezes with jackets, hats, gloves, and fleece from Grundens and Stormer. The Dock Shop will keep you warm and dry. Boater, beach bum, fisherman, or simply love the New England coast, this is a unique place to shop. The Dock Shop, now in 2 locations, 51 Tokenique Road, Darien, 609 Riverside Avenue, Westport, or on the web, dockshop.com.
When you experience a sports injury, you want to get better and fast. Coastal Ortho Express gives you direct access to orthopedic care quickly. Their physicians are fellowship trained in sports medicine at world-class universities and are also team doctors for area football teams. For specialized personal care of sports injuries, go to Coastal Ortho Express. Open Monday through Saturday in the iPark Building, 761 Main Avenue in Norwalk, or coastalorthoexpress.com. Coastal Orthopedics, keeping you on the move.
I mentioned our special mascot climbing up and down the ladder. Her name is Sarah, and she's a real cutie, so we welcome you back to Nutmeg Sports as she wants to dive in and take a look at the camera as well. As we move along, I'm Rob Adams. Happy you're along with us from here at New Canaan at Dunning Field. Couple of more quickies for you, and I want to make sure, we love our newspapers. We love all the folks who still handle them, and no better friend among the editors than Susan Schultz at the Darien Times, and was talking to her about various and sundry things. She's got a celebrity interview that she conducted yesterday. It will run, I believe, in the paper tomorrow. Very good stuff. If you like the 80s, for instance, or if you like an upcoming movie that he's doing with a couple of fairly big stars. Now, the 80s thing is a very strange reference. You'll get it, though, when you see the interview tomorrow. It'll run in the Darien Times. The other thing, outstanding piece and very compelling on the whereabouts and the situation of the Alex Kelly story that dates back now 20 years. So worth checking that out, all at DarienTimes.com and, of course, on your newsstands. But we're all about championships.han.network, and that's coming up later on today with field hockey. We've got 2 games, the semifinals. Championship on Thursday. The championship moves from here down to Brian McMahon High School's Jack Casagrande Field, so that comes up on Thursday at 7, but we've got the doubleheader today. Once again, just to recap it for you, as we get set for that, it will be New Canaan and Darien and Norwalk and Wilton, so you want to make sure you hold on for that. And the soccer championship tomorrow as Ridgefield takes on St. Joe's, and girls soccer at 4:30, and Ludlow Darien, the nightcap, at 7 o'clock. I want to turn my attention, while we have a few minutes remaining on the show, to where we are in the football standings and the points poll. And we start in Class Double-L. Shelton, the top team in Double-L right now, with Southington second. They're both 7-0 on the year, but it's the tiebreaker of points and this and that and the other. So right now, Southington, the 2 seed, even though I think Southington's been head and shoulders above everybody all year, with the exception of Darien, who's probably number 2, New Canaan 3, and Shelton might be the 4 team. But let's see what the state poll has in a moment. Newtown is 3rd, Darien 4th, Glastonbury 5th, West Haven, Staples, Trumbull, Conard, and East Hartford round out the top 10, top 8. Make those playoffs. Staples needs to stay hot. They've got games against St. Joseph, Darien, and Greenwich remaining on the year. A second loss would be very deadly for the Wreckers, and there could be any one of a couple of losses. That's not an easy finish for the Wreckers to the season. Over to Class L we go. North Haven is the number 1 team. Harding has dropped to number 2. And again, it's just a matter of the average points and power points and all that. They're just 3 points apart overall, but North Haven now the top team. Harding finishes up with Bullard Havens, Cheney Tech, and then Bridgeport Central, their traditional Thanksgiving matchup. So that's coming up in a couple of weeks. New Canaan is third. Yes, New Canaan is third. Again, it's about who you beat and then who they beat to help get you those power points. New Canaan still with Trumbull, Fairfield Ludlow, and Darien will have 2 of those 3 games right here on the HAN network. Windsor, Torrington, Wethersfield, Middletown, Notre Dame of West Haven, Massac, and Maloney round out the top 10. Over to Class M we go. Ledyard is the number 1 team, followed by Killingly. St. Joseph at number 3. They still have Staples, West Hill, and Trumbull to finish up with. That Staples-St. Joe's game will be very good, and that's coming up this Saturday with no lights over at St. Joseph. Bacon Academy, number 4, Berlin 5, 4 and 6th, with New Fairfield, Abbott Tech Immaculate, Brookfield, and Hyde Career Whitney rounding out the top 10. Finally, over to Class S. Ansonia, Marcia. They are number 1 in Class S, followed by Granby, Trinity Catholic at number 3, still with Stamford, Bridgeport Central, and Wilton to finish up with. They won't get a lot of power points out of those victories, so for Trinity Catholic, it's win out for sure. They're sitting at number 3. They do have a little way to fall, but a second loss, again, can be very difficult, even in Class S. Wolcott's number 4, Bloomfield 5, Seymour, Morgan, Cromwell, Portland, Ellington, and Bullard Havens all rounding out the top 10. As we finish things up, we do have the Game Time CT New Haven Register top 10 poll that I wanted to note from football this week. And we'll go from 10 to 1, starting with the number 10 team in the, well, not in the land, but in the land of Connecticut, and that's Wethersfield. They stay right there at number 10, having lost to Windsor 21-14 last week. Number 9 will be Ansonia. They beat Oxford 40-13. Amazing to consider. Ansonia at 7-0 and only 9th in the poll. You're just so used to seeing the Chargers sitting up top. Again, you know, it was the kind of thing where Ansonia could do very little wrong, but they are sitting there at number 9, and they have not moved since last week. Number 8 is Glastonbury. That's exactly where they were a week ago as well. For Glastonbury, the Tomahawks are 6-1 on the year. They defeated Hartford Public 42-0. They play New Britain this Friday night. The Newtown Nighthawks are in the number 7 team. They too have not moved. They defeated Stratford 34-6, and they play New Milford on Friday. North Haven is number 6. They defeated Hill House 45-12. They've got Lyman Hall coming up this week. To number 5, I mentioned Shelton. Well, those who do the voting think that the Shelton Gales are the number 5 team in the state at 7-0. They stay in the 5th spot. They defeated Amity 45-7 last week, and they play Hand this Friday at 7 o'clock. Windsor is number 4 on the year. The Warriors are 7-0. They defeated Wethersfield 21-14, and they play at South Windsor this Saturday at 2. The number 3 team, the Darien Blue Wave. I have to tell you, I have no dog in the fight, but I don't agree. The Blue Wave defeated Wilton 48-7. They have Fairfield Ward this Saturday at 2, but the Blue Wave, by the voters, are considered the number 3 team in the state of Connecticut, and the Blue Wave stay at number 3. At number 2, those guys, the New Canaan Rams, they defeated Norwalk 52-14. They play Trumbull this Friday at 7, and they sit right there at number 2. Michael Collins, just a little note, 6 touchdown passes for the 4th time this year. That is remarkable. And finally, no surprise, number 1 on the year, Southington. I feel so much like Casey Kasem and a little dog named Snuggles. 35-0. They defeated New Britain last week, and they play East Hartford Friday at 7. There is your top 10 poll. Be fun to vote on one of those sometime, but certainly good stuff compiled by Mike Pucci, and our credit goes out to all those great voters, many of whom who have been on the show. Mary Albel, Doug Bonjour, we've seen a bunch of times. Bill Bloxham, of course, our very own Sean Patrick Boley as well, and Mike Suppy also with a vote, and a bunch of other folks that you've seen here on this show. But with all that said and done, a half hour has rocked on by. We ask you to make sure you stick around, not only for field hockey later on at 5. New Canaan Darien will kick things off, Norwalk Wilton later on. So the semifinals here at championships.han.network, but also election coverage. Josh Fisher, Kate Czaplinski, 8 o'clock tonight on the HAN Network. That'll do it for Nutmeg Sports. Thanks for joining us on this Tuesday afternoon. Again, join us for field hockey at 5 o'clock. Looking forward to it. For Eric Gendron and our entire crew here at Dunningfield in New Canaan, I'm Rob Adams. We will talk to you at 5. Field hockey coming up right here on the HAN Network. Thanks for watching, everyone.